So welcome again this morning. Um, let's do our holding this group in a circle instead of in a square. Just imagine us all sitting together, either around a table or in a room, and I will start the introductions with the first person in my circle. So your name, where you are in the world, and a word or an image that describes how you are feeling this morning. And Gail, do you have
That
a
would
word
be great.
today?
My word for today is discombobulated. I'm a
Mhm.
little scattered feeling, but like many others, just kind of being here has been grounding.
Mm. Um, my kind of words image today, because where I look out from my little office at the back of the house is onto my garden, and I just feel very grateful for gardens. So, turning to poems about grief and grieving today, um, this is a poem called Epiphany by Abani. And for those who are new to this process, we just really listen to the poems and listen for a word or a phrase or an idea that resonates with you, surprises you. And if you got the printed poems that Gail sent, the photo at the top is a photoshopped picture that I took this weekend out on the headlands above Rodeo Beach because I was just so amazed by the beauty there. So, Epiphany by Abani. And Abani is a Nigerian novelist and poet who also teaches here in the States. The true epiphany is that beauty happens, whether we seek it or not. A boy may become entranced by his shadow with the dark, with the incessant. Maybe we carry death with us. It sits behind the eyes like a shadow on a lake. Sorrow comes to us like this at the edge of a sea, an immensity. I'd chase my brother across continents, devoutly following in his footsteps, trying to find the one who cannot be found, the lost boy who haunts me, almost as if he said, I will fashion you from your I will fashion you from your relentless darkness. Yes, we walk everywhere with our shadows. The way Araceli Guermet's voice hovers between song and sob as she peels the lines of poetry from the page. There is no small measure of pyromania in this, a self immolation. Sometimes we are blessed with the night sky, a leopard, starred and spotted. I'll read it once more. The true epiphany is that beauty happens, whether we seek it or not. A boy may become entranced by his shadow with the dark, with the incessant. Maybe we carry death with us. It sits behind the eyes like a shadow on a lake. Sorrow comes to us like this at the edge of a sea, an immensity. I chase my brother across continents, devoutly following in his footsteps, trying to find the one who cannot be found, the lost boy who haunts me. Almost as if he said, I will fashion you from your relentless darkness. Yes, we walk everywhere with our shadows. The way Araceli Skerme's voice hovers between song and sob as she peels the lines of poetry from the page. There is no small measure of pyromania in this, a self immolation. Sometimes we are blessed with the night sky, a leopard, starred and spotted. What words, phrases, ideas jump out at you from these words?
Beauty happens whether we seek it or not.
Trying to find the one who cannot be found.
Exactly.
We walk everywhere with our shadows.
Maybe we carry death with us.
I will fashion you from your relentless darkness.
We are blessed with the night sky, a leopard starred and spotted.
Peels the lines of poetry from the page. So, as always, if there's a particular line that jumps out at you as your own prompt to write from, please use that. Otherwise, I would suggest either beauty happens or we walk everywhere with our shadows.
What was the first one?
Beauty happens.
Oh, thank you.
Or we walk everywhere with our shadows. And we'll write for 5 minutes. And go ahead and mute yourselves while you're writing. And we will begin. Who would like to read first? All right, so I don't do this too often, but I did include one of my poems today. And also just to say, if anyone has like a favorite poem sort of in this topic of loss, losing, and loosening that they would like to have read here, send it to me. So this poem is called Census Taker of the Soul. I wrote it after visiting a patient of mine who was in the last days of his life in a nursing facility. And he was just one of those people who touched me deeply. And he also made me laugh because those of you who know people on hospice, they often give them these little sponges on a stick to dip in water and moisten the mouth just so that your mouth doesn't dry out. And this man had been a wine connoisseur his whole life. So his daughter would bring him in different kinds of wine every evening and put them in a cup, and he would dip the sponge in these different wines. So he would still be able to have wine tasting on his deathbed. which was wonderful. Census Taker of the Soul for Irv Wyman. Somewhere between cerulean and midnight blue, a quarter-filled bowl of moonlight floats in the ethers above Twin Peaks. Below, in the pastel pink quarters of the not-so-lovely nursing home, a scientist floats in and out of consciousness between this world and what he calls the great universe. It is hard, he says in his coarse and muffled voice, this dying. He is still asking questions. He wants to know what Einstein thought when he was dying, or Jack Benny. I recite Woody Allen's line, I'm not afraid of dying, I just don't want to be there when it happens. He laughs. I wish I had said that. I ask, what is it you are thinking as you lay dying? He replies that this is all such a puzzle. Someone came and asked me questions about my childhood, my life. I was surprised by how much I remembered. He was a census taker of the soul. Indeed, we contemplate the jigsaw puzzle, pieces of our lives scattered around us, never knowing until the very end which tiny piece will complete the picture that is ours alone. Somewhere between suffering and silence, we understand the significance of the drops of water that comprise the ocean, how each star completes the universe, and each breath, one after the other, comprises a life.
Wow.
I thought about your poem last week, Kathleen, about the missing puzzle piece.
I know. Wow. I, where did it go? What is it you are thinking as you lay dying?
Redwing, there are so many lines in this and paragraphs in this that I love. But I'll just choose which tiny piece will complete the picture that is ours alone.
I feel the same as Sue. I've got goosebumps even on my legs. I don't think I've had that before. But I've picked a quarter-filled bowl of moonlight.
Thank you.
And each breath, one after the other, comprises a life.
Somewhere between suffering and silence.
The significance of the drops of water that comprise the ocean.
And what he calls the great universe.
And I have to say, it made me smile to hear the line, I wish I had said that.
So I'm going to suggest we use as a prompt either somewhere between suffering and silence, or what might you be thinking as you lay dying? And we'll write for 4 minutes. Would someone who hasn't read yet like to read? Then I will read Stephen Levine's Half-Life. If people don't know Stephen Levine, he was one of the early people who wrote about death and dying from a Buddhist perspective. It's actually Stephen Levine and Elizabeth Kubler-Ross who really turned me on to thinking about death and dying in different ways. Half-Life by Stephen Levine. We walk through half our life as if it were a fever dream, barely touching the ground, our eyes half open, our heart half closed, not half knowing who we are. We watch the ghost of us drift from room to room, through friends and lovers, never quite as real as advertised. Not saying half we mean, or meaning half we say, we dream ourselves from birth to birth, seeking some true self, until the fever breaks, and the heart cannot abide a moment longer as the rest of us awakens, summoned from the dream, not half caring for anything but love.
So touching to see an author whose only academic writing and prose that I've read has this poet side. It's really lovely.
Not half caring for anything but love.
Until the fever breaks.
Not half knowing who we are.
Never quite as real as advertised.
Right. We dream ourselves from birth to birth.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying half we mean.
Mm-hmm.
Not half caring for anything but love.
We watch the ghost of us drifting from room to room.
Yeah.
Oh, drift from room to room.
Yeah. Kind of like we walk everywhere with our shadows. Well, for me, these poetry sessions are really about not half caring for anything but love. And it always seems like it's the most important thing, just as beauty happens everywhere, even in the midst of the frightening wonderment that we wake up with each morning right now. So we feel all of it, and I am so grateful to all of you for expressing all of it here in this hour together. Thank you, thank you, thank you, each and every one of you, for being here, for showing up, for letting it come through. As always, if you fine-tune something that you wrote today or didn't, and you want to send it to us, we will include it in our next group of poems that we put together of all of this amazing writing. Thank you. Stay safe. Have a good week. Be kind to yourselves. See you again soon.